Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Ultra Confusion Hangout. I, of course, am your host, Charlie, and I'm joined once again by the prolific comer himself, Zealeus.
Yay!
I do want to point out something. Mr. Zealeus from Mankato is currently wearing a fleece. I'm wearing a short-sleeve shirt. The world has turned.
Like sands through the hourglass, the world changes.
Dun,
A little
dun,
bit at a
dun.
time. Yes.
Tonight is sponsored by beer.
And water.
And nondescript electrolyte juice.
Electrolyte juice. I like that. It sounds like it should electrocute me. So I hook myself and get some volts in my system.
Yes, yes. All right, so let's get right to it. The topic, of course, that we're going to start off with is esports.
What about C sports or B sports?
I don't even know what those are.
What are esports?
Electronic sports.
So, like being able to play Tetris well.
Yes.
Or being able to make a nice light bulb, because that's electronics.
But is it really a game? Well, I guess it could be a game, so yeah, therefore
Well,
it's a sport.
Isn't that what we were asking tonight?
All right, so esports. Basically, the vast majority of esports out there is competitive gaming. That basically, I guess, makes it the sport. So you have, of course, you have StarCraft, StarCraft 2.
LOL.
For those who don't know what LOL is, League of Legends.
Dota. Sorry, should I just stop talking?
Defense of the Ancients. No, is it Defense?
Yes, Defense of the Ancients, yes.
You also have Dawngate, Smite.
There's another one we're missing. I can't think of it, though. It's been out for a long time.
I know.
I'm a total blank of what it is.
Well, anyways.
Another MOBA.
MOBA. Lots of MOBAs. Well, okay, StarCraft's not a MOBA, but it's a real-time strategy, and you can and of course you've got Call of Duty, you've got Madden.
But StarCraft Progenitor, Warcraft 3, inspired their entire MOBA through a mod map. Yeah. Called
Dota.
Defense of the Ancients. Imagine that.
Mm-hmm. Is there an esports deal for Team Fortress?
There are definitely pro teams for TF2, yes. I played against some, and we didn't do very well.
The reason why we bring this up is that maybe it's just the fact that a local company, Hi-Rez, the creators of the game Smite, have been making a lot of announcements and basically publicizing a lot of their tournaments that are going on. They're hosting the World Tournament in January at the Cobb Energy Center, which of course is very interesting. And this is really why we're talking about this.
That's very close to me.
Are we at Ultra Confusion willing to say that esports has officially become a strong enough spectator sport to be considered, or spectator event to be considered sort of a sport where you have professionals going against each other?
Well, it depends on what your definition of a legitimate sport is. Are spectators required for it to be a sport? You can play basketball in your backyard, and I don't think you'd have many people argue that you're not playing a sport, even though you're playing in your backyard with two relatively not tall white guys.
I don't understand, dude. In my mind, I'm always surrounded by at least 2,000 fans.
You might want to take some meds for that, my friend.
You know, I'm never alone. No, okay, so...
Oh, God, we've entered this. But to go back to your original question, I think it depends what your definition of a sport is. And frankly, as I think about it, I look at it, who gives a crap what the definition of a sport is.
Okay, but let's say, do you think that let's boil it down even further. Do you think that these events are like legit now? I feel like
you know what makes it legit is that there's $1 million freaking money pool. It doesn't matter. I mean, who cares if it's legit? There's money there to be had. You can make money off of it. So it's
right. I know, but a lot of people would make the argument that it's just it's a bunch of silly people getting together and playing video games, and a couple people high-fiving. Now we're talking about the I can't remember which one. I want to say it's League of Legends.
Hmm?
They use the Staples Center where the Lakers play.
Well, you got people who still think basketball is a silly sport, even though they're making tens of millions of dollars. So football people are killing themselves.
You're following the wrong kind of football.
So it's all in the eye of the beholder of what is, you could boil it down to, what about competition, Scrabble? People get really into Scrabble and chess, and people probably don't consider Scrabble and chess a sport. So what about StarCraft 2? Is that considered a sport? What is that threshold of a sport? Me, I really don't give a crap about sport versus a sport. What is a competition that people enjoy watching and has an audience and a following? And I think we've definitely crossed that Rubicon a number of years ago when it comes to so-called esports, where there is that following and that support. It's still, I think, fair to say it's still in its infancy. There's still work to go. There's still things that will be done and changed on it. I think that thing that makes esports interesting is it's an ever-evolving activity. Now, 10 years ago would have been Warcraft 3. Nowadays, you got League of Legends is big, you got Smite's coming up, and you got StarCraft. Those are probably the ones I would kind of consider the big ones. But 10 years from now, what is it going to be? It's ever changing. I don't know if you saw, I posted, I know it's confusion. You had Brandon Hayward, who is, pro sports athlete. What?
His name's not Brandon.
Gordon, sorry. I don't know where Brandon came from.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know where. Okay, anyways, Gordon Hayward, he plays NBA basketball, I'm pretty sure, doesn't he, for some team?
He is an NBA player for the Utah Jazz.
Utah Jazz, thank you. I know he played for Butler under that head coach who's now the head coach of the Celtics.
Yes.
Brad Stevens.
Good job. All right, yeah, round of applause for affiliates.
Woo! That took a while to come full circle.
All right. Okay, keep going.
But anyways, he's a professional basketball player, and he talks about, back when he was in high school, they played Halo for money. He actually had to talk to his head coach, Brad Stevens, about, can I play Halo for money? And not run afoul of the NCAA regulations for, gives. Hello, freaking Todd Gurley. I'm not going there because I'll kill somebody.
James Wilson.
But
Johnny Football.
Yeah. Okay, anyways. So, this was, a decade ago, is you had Gordon Hayward making money off of Halo and winning competitions. So there's money to be made off. Same thing with Magic the Gathering. It's not an electronic game, but Magic the Gathering. They've been doing tournaments for money for a number of years. I remember in high school entering in tournaments and thoroughly getting my ass whooped, but we still played them.
My dad finished in third in one of those.
Nice.
And he got a booster pack. The unfortunate thing was the booster pack was it was an import. It was all in Italian.
Okay, this explains something actually, funny enough. So I found my stash of Magic cards. And we're going through the Magic cards. Kim and her fiance Kevin is a huge Magic fanatic. And I have a bunch of cards in Italian.
Yeah, that would be from my dad.
And I, for the life of me, could not figure out where do these Italian cards come from. So thank you for enlightening me.
You're welcome.
Speaking of, totally off topic, well, actually it's on top of Magic. I don't know if you saw, but earlier this week, somebody unwrapped a pack of Alpha cards.
Why would you unwrap them?
You want to know what he unwrapped?
No, it's gonna make me cry. Right?
He unwrapped the Alpha mint condition Black Lotus worth $27,000.
Well, actually, it's going to be less than that because now there's one more in the world.
Well, okay, let's rephrase that. Its market value is $27,000, but as with anything in the world, it's really what is somebody willing to pay for that Magic card.
Yep.
But going back to the sports question, yes, I think esports. I think these activities, be it Magic or Halo or Smite or LoL, they all definitely have that foundation of competition level gameplay. But the trick is it's ever evolving. Because yes, you have League of Legends now, but 10 years from now, some things are going to probably have evolved from League of Legends to be, I don't know, maybe League of Legends 2, I don't know.
3.
League of Heroes, I don't know, whatever. But it's always changing, and that's what I think is so interesting with that versus, say, Scrabble. Scrabble, there's competitions you can play in Scrabble for money. But Scrabble probably hasn't changed a whole lot in the last 100 years.
All right. Well, okay. Let's take it a step further, shall we? Are we to the point of these competitions where where anyone can gain entertainment or enjoy or perhaps become knowledgeable? Like, let's say I've got a couple friends who've never been to a basketball game. I don't know how that's physically possible, but if someone were to give them a free ticket, absolutely they'd be there. Are we to the point where no, we're not?
No, not even close.
Okay.
I mean, think about it. What do you think? So, Dad, I have free tickets to a Smite tournament this weekend at the Cobb Center. Want to go?
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
no, even our generation, I think most people are going to be like, huh? So, no, I definitely think it's still a niche market to go to these, Scrabble tournaments have been around for 100 years. But people are still just going to go watch a Scrabble tournament.
Right, no, but the thing is, okay, so the reason why I bring this up is I have never been to like a serious esport event until I did this Smite Lunch tournament. And, I was like, okay, so, I mean, I'm going there because Alter Confusion, I'm going to, I'll probably try to videotape some stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't videotape anything because I was drawn into it because I got caught into it with the crowd. No offense to chess players or Scrabble players or that kind of thing, but, you're not going to be like, you're not going to see the entire crowd go batshit crazy when someone is about to put down their 7th tile to make a massive word.
Oh my God, you did it!
But when someone does, it's like when someone pulls off some amazing, crazy stuff. You have no idea what just happened, but you get caught up in the moment. You start screaming along with everyone else. That's awesome.
But guess what? We're that niche market.
I'd be very interested to see if my dad's free. I wonder if he would go with me.
Can't hurt to try. I mean, I just don't think, and this isn't a bad thing, I just think video game tournaments or competition gameplay is always going to be a niche market. I mean, it's no different than, there's plenty of people out there who don't watch football or basketball.
What? No.
I know, they're flipping through the channels. I mean, my mom probably hasn't watched a basketball game in ever. So it's kind of like there's always going to be activities or sports or something that people just aren't going to care about.
And I'm not saying that I'm expecting it to be all encompassing, but is it feasible at this point where average Joe Schmo, if he somehow accidentally ended up at something that like a Smite tournament that he's never been to, that he would be able to gain enjoyment out of it?
I think maybe for a couple minutes. I think he might. I could see one of those things. You're kind of walking maybe through like a gallery hall and you see people going crazy. I could see them, poke at their head and be like, huh, interesting. Mm-hmm. But I just don't quite see it as a market that's going to be very widespread. I very well could be proven wrong. I don't know. We might finally see it on ESPN The Ocho, but it's just not something that
Once
really...
The Ocho actually exists.
Yeah, I in some ways, though, I honestly could see esports on ESPN2 someday. I think poker kind of got to the heyday with the World Series of Poker. Mm-hmm. And it really ballooned with Chris Moneymaker back in, the early 2000s?
Something like that.
Where he, broke the $1 million mark for the winner. So I could see some future time when, they're showing... esports during, say, the Super Bowl, because everybody's watching the Super Bowl, so who cares what's on ESPN2, because nobody's going to watch it anyways, because anybody who cares about sports is watching the Super Bowl. So I could see some potential of an esport being like on an ESPN2 or something someday, mm-hmm. but I don't ever see it being like, prime time or something that's going to be taken up by the masses. That's my personal opinion. I would like to be proved wrong. Who knows? So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Yeah. I think the other thing, too, is I'm trying to think. I'll put this gently, but there's a stereotype with professional gamers.
Okay.
Where I still think, you think of like hardcore gamers. I think the stereotype and perception out there is that they all live in their mom's basement, and they mainline Mountain Dew, and they all have long raggedy hair, and they never talked to a girl in their life.
Okay, 3 of 4, probably. Professional gamers, when you get to like the professional level, they usually live in a house together off of the proceeds of their sponsorships. They may have scraggly hair. They may never talk to women, and they may game all day.
It's kind of because you read the Gordon Hayward article. He's like, man, these esport professional players, they put my work habit to shame. As a professional NBA athlete, he's like, these guys work a hell of a lot harder than I do. Yeah. But the difference is I think, so you got a professional sport, and there's kind of that, it's like that upper echelon, where it's like, you can't really practice anymore and get any better.
Right.
You can only shoot so many free throws a day. Although somebody like
Dwight Howard, you can continue to throw them through your. I'm just kidding.
Okay, Bob Cousy. But you know what I mean? There kind of comes that point where it's like, they're probably not good to practice. There comes that point of practicing maybe too much. I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? Where with esports, these guys practice. It's like they say, they practice 12 to 16 hours a day, and then their free time they play the game more. I mean, they literally eat, breathe, and drink these games. To be fair, a lot of pro athletes eat, drink, and sleep their pro sport too. But I don't know. It's obviously there's a much different money threshold. It's hard to make a living off of esports.
Well, okay, so
very hard.
Okay, when it comes, if you want to differentiate your average NBA player probably doesn't have a sponsorship deal with anyone.
Correct.
But they're going to get a base salary. Esports players, everything is sponsorship. You don't have sponsors, you don't get paid. You get small sponsors, you get small pay. Now, of course, there are gaming houses where literally you join a team and you're probably in like, I guess, the newbie room, and you'll get like a stipend.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't really make any money until you get into. It's like you're in the JV.
Okay.
JV, you basically are allowed to live in the house, train, be the poor soul who gets the shit kicked out of them digitally every single day by the studs.
Yeah.
You're basically the Rudy of the the house.
Until you win it all.
Until you actually get to play one down.
I think the interesting difference, though, is to be a pro athlete, you definitely have to have a certain genetic disposition. I mean, if you're going to be a football player, you have to have a certain body type.
Right.
Basketball, you have to be fast, you have to be able to jump. Sports have their physical requirements. I mean, no matter how hard I wanted to train, I was never going to be a professional basketball player.
Right.
Just was not going to happen, no matter how many hours I put into it.
Right.
But esports is one of those things where literally your skill ceiling is limited basically by how many hours can you invest into a game.
I beg to differ on that one. I think that if you just go off of, there are gifted individuals out there who I could train the exact same amount of time as them in Halo or whatever. They're still going to wipe the floor with me because they have the chemical makeup, the brain processing speed to be quicker on the trigger. Mm-hmm. I played a shit ton of Halo 2. And no matter how hard I tried, I was still the fucking sitting duck because my brain cannot run or strafe and fire at the same time.
Fair enough. Okay, let's look at it from a different perspective then.
Okay.
Because you're right. You make a good point. Some people are probably more naturally gifted at video games than others. Yeah. So let's look at this perspective. Say you get to a professional athlete as basketball. Mm-hmm. You're not probably going to be able to change to become a professional athlete and football after the fact.
Right.
Whereas in esports, do you think there's a potential, like, let's say you're a professional StarCraft player.
Right.
Or you want to be a very good StarCraft. You put so many hours into StarCraft, you just can't make it. Mm-hmm. Do you think there's a better chance then that maybe you can switch your esport desire to then become a professional Halo player. Is there that potential where you could, change your, so to speak, career path with video games?
Right. Okay. Yes, I think that. I think for esports, it would definitely be easier to change your focus. There is the it's the same. You could still put this in parallel with professional sports. There is the chance that perhaps the sport that you think that you are the shit at, or the game you think you're the shit at, is actually not your best, and it might be totally by accident. There's a rugby player that's about to find out if he's basically the number one rugby player in the world, and all of a sudden he's like, you know what, I should try the NFL.
Yeah, I saw that.
Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But if it does work and he becomes a stud, well then you never know.
Yep.
But yes, the chances are, if you've trained all your life to be a basketball player, you are not going to be a hockey player.
Mm-hmm.
But in the same vein, there is a greater chance that you, as a StarCraft 2 or StarCraft junkie professional, could easily make the transition into something like Dota or Smite and find out that you're actually much better at that than you ever were at StarCraft. That's definitely possible.
Well, and there's also, I think, a lower threshold of danger of doing it in esports.
Right.
If you're a professional basketball player and you try out for football, there's a pretty damn good chance you break a leg in the process.
Well, the other thing
versus esports, where it's, what do you have to lose by trying out a different esport?
Right. Well, if you're going to look at professional sports like hockey, baseball, basketball, all that stuff, well, I'm not going to talk about that. You have to basically put your body into specific shape for different things. Now, I'm not saying that it's like, oh, Halo to StarCraft to LoL. It's not that easy. You still got to train.
Oh yeah.
But the training can be quickly accomplished in the digital realm, where training for, like, let's say you're a baseball player, you want to play football, you're probably going to have to put in like 8, 9, 10 months. Whereas as a video game player, if you went gung-ho, balls to the wall, 8, 10 weeks, and you're ready to go.
Now, the one other I would think is actually a parallel is from what I've read at least, is most esports athletes definitely have a shelf life.
Yes.
Mainly because of the mouse.
Yeah.
Because, that, and I experienced this myself in Team Fortress 2. Doing all that fast twitch action, with the mouse, it just puts a lot of strain and stress on your wrist that physiologically we just weren't made to do.
Right, absolutely. It's interesting to note that, just like I'm not saying, okay, fine. Just like a running back that's getting 500 carries a year, just like a pitcher who pitches all 9 innings every single time they have an outing. Professional video game esports players, the amount of rigor that they put themselves in with I know this is going to sound crazy, but sitting in a chair and holding your body in certain configurations to optimize your gaming ability, which of course I will never be able to do because my shoulder's jacked because of nerve damage.
What about like a strap or something to give you a little bit of body support? We can use some suspenders that hang from the ceiling.
Now we're going into, is it legal to wear like one of those like body, like squeezy shirts to relieve the tension in your, so you can last longer in a game?
Or about like wrist helpers to, relieve the strain or, give you a little more.
Or could you build the mouse into the wrist builder?
Oh, that's going to happen someday.
I know. Actually, there's a lot of.
Or is there a restriction on the type of mouse you can use?
I would take it even further. Is there a restriction on the input device you can use? Yeah.
We'll have to ask Smite that question, or a high res that question.
Well, I've got, yeah, that's true.
I think actually it is an interesting question. Is what are there any kind of restrictions of any sort? Do they do drug testing? I mean, I think about if you get high on speed or something.
Right. I don't know. That actually.
I mean, I could definitely see.
Are there?
I could see chemical enhancements for video gaming.
Yeah.
They're probably temporary ones, but to give you that
Something
short
that
little edge for like a half hour, just to give you that extra little.
This is going to show my anime nerddom, but there's an episode of Cowboy Bebop where there's a drug called Red Eye that you shoot in your eye. It actually slows down everything, so that you're almost undefeatable. Like if someone were to shoot a bullet at you, your eyes would be able to process things so much faster. You'd be able to dodge, and everything sees in slow motion. So if you were to be able to apply that to one of these fast twitch games where everything's going at a much slower pace in your mind instead of the fast action, would that be legal? Interesting.
Good questions for the powers that be.
Yes, it looks like we've got quite a few questions we need.
And how would they know that you're taking these?
Right. Is there like a pee cup test that you got to take a couple days?
You must attach a catheter as you enter the seat.
Oh, no. All right.
Moving on.
Yeah, okay, esports. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any additional comments, thoughts about this, definitely hit us up on alterconfusion.com, the contact us link at the top of the menu bar. I think it's the second from the right. And then, of course, you can always hit us up on the YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. So this is kind of my own personal experience. This really has nothing to do with esports, but I have some sad news. I don't think my dad's a PC gamer anymore.
Wait, what happened?
I think he's gone completely console. Because I was talking to him like, Dad, I found this great game. It's called Wasteland 2. It's kind of like Baldur's Gate-esque, but post-apocalyptic. He goes, oh, cool. When can I get on the Xbox? I'm like, I don't think it's on the Xbox. Oh, it's a PC game? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, I don't know if I'll play that. I'm like, oh, you're killing me, man.
He's turned fully to the dark side.
Shoot, I remember. Baldur's Gate 2. Icewind Dale 2. Diablo 2.
Didn't you break a few mice playing Diablos?
Yes. Okay, so if you're not brought up in the digital age and you're going with a game that requires a lot of clicking, you don't understand that it's not pressure sensitive.
It's not?
No, it's not.
You mean like when you're playing Need for Speed or Mario Kart? Isn't it kind of like, when the controller, when you move to the left, doesn't move your body? Because there's gyroscope sensors inside the controller to help control your vehicle. It's the same concept.
No. So tragically, it would appear that my dad's PC gaming days are behind him. It's a sad day.
I'm saying a small little bit inside. I just died a little.
Sorry, Dad. Yes. So that was really tragic, and I still can't believe that.
I guess a man's got to do what a man's got to do.
Well, I think it's easier for him to just plop down in his man cave with a controller in his hand and just play on the big screen.
I can see. Does he have the Xbox One?
No, just the Xbox 360. I don't know why he doesn't have the one yet. I really don't. But then again, if you look at the library, that's probably why. No offense, Microsoft, but
I
still am.
Video game library for the 360 or for the Xbox One.
I think there's at least 5 games out.
Dude, no way. It's more than the 4.
Yeah.
I heard Destiny's on the Xbox One.
I heard Destiny's on everything but the PC.
Wow. Oh. Whew.
Yeah. The Kickstarter bug bites or gets me again. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I know that a lot of you have had amazing Kickstarter projects, and I have said, nay, I will not kickstart another project.
But
I broke down.
I'm shocked and surprised.
It all happened because of a little game for the Dreamcast called Elysian Shadows. They reopened the floodgate, and gosh darn it, I cannot stop. I just bought myself another pencil and paper RPG. I haven't even played the first one!
Julie!
No.
We need an intervention.
It's okay. I will bring it together.
I'm not sure I believe you, but that's okay.
Yes, I know. I guess I'm making this announcement as I'm retiring again from kickstarting Kickstarter projects.
Until next time.
Until something else gets my attention. Tragically, I think one of the Kickstarter projects that I am backing is not going to be able to make it. They have 8 days and they have a lot of space to take up. This was actually part of the piece that Zealeus and I were talking about. I think it was last week about putting out stretch goals before you get to your original goal.
Yep.
Which, of course, let me just reiterate. You have to do some heavy soul searching about your game. And to be honest with you, I know you want to make an awesome game. So you automatically want to put the better price on it. But you have to go in there thinking, what is the least amount of money that it's going to take to make this game? Where it's literally, the money just goes towards the game. It's not financing the developers, the artists, the room and board, the internet, whatever, to make this thing happen. Yeah, I was figured that was going to happen. I just feel that they maybe they need all that money, and maybe it just didn't catch on. But sorry,
It was a sad day.
It is a very sad day. Very, very sad. Okay, we have now reached the 30-minute mark, so we are going to wrap up this wonderful edition of the Ultra Confusion Thursday Night Hangout.
It is Thursday night indeed.
Indeed it is. Let me say, thank you for tuning in to the Ultra Confusion Thursday Night Hangout. For myself, Charlie, and Zealeus, it's been a pleasure to give you what's coming in our minds, which apparently was almost all esports, and the relevance, and how it does in the outside world, and is there drug testing for esports professionals? So, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
And remember, kids, keep on gaming in the free world.
Amen to that, brother.